Textbooks used in schools have long been scrutinized for their content, which can sometimes be misleading, biased, or factually incorrect. Here's a look at some notable examples and the issues they present. Southern history textbooks and the lost cause narrative. For much of the 20th century, history textbooks in Southern states were heavily influenced by organizations like the United Daughters of the Confederacy, UDC. These books often promoted the lost cause narrative, which romanticized the Confederacy and downplayed the atrocities of slavery. For instance, textbooks like Young People's History of North Carolina and The History of the United States by Waddy Thompson described enslaved people as well-treated and content, which starkly contrasts with the historical realities of slavery, invisibility of Native American contributions, and history. James W. Lowen's book, Lies My Teacher Told Me, highlights how many U.S. history textbooks ignore the significant influence of Native American cultures on European settlers and the broader American society. These textbooks often present a simplistic and erroneous frontier narrative that frames Native Americans as obstacles to progress rather than as integral contributors to American history. For example, Lowen points out that textbooks typically fail to mention the extensive Native American slave trade or the impact of intercultural contact on both Native and European societies, misrepresentation of racism and slavery. Many history textbooks have been criticized for their inadequate treatment of racism and slavery. They often fail to connect the institution of slavery with the systemic racism that persists in society. Lowen notes that textbooks frequently describe slavery in sanitized terms, neglecting to acknowledge the brutality and inhumanity experienced by enslaved people. This omission distorts historical understanding and deprives students of learning about the roots of contemporary racial issues, biased representation of historical figures. Textbooks have also been found to present biased portrayals of historical figures. For example, while some textbooks highlight Abraham Lincoln's anti-slavery stance, they often omit his more complex views on race and his actions that were not entirely aligned with modern ideals of racial equality. This selective representation can lead to a skewed understanding of historical events and figures, rethinking schools. The broader impact of inaccurate textbooks. The inaccuracies and biases found in textbooks can have significant consequences. They contribute to the perpetuation of myths and misconceptions about history, influencing generations of students. These issues underscore the need for critically examining educational materials and a commitment to presenting a more accurate and inclusive account of history. For more detailed discussions and examples, refer to sources like Lies My Teacher Told Me by James W. Lowen, which critically analyzes the content of widely used history textbooks and their impact on historical understanding.